Hey guys, welcome back to Build a Better Baker. If you're new here, I'm Ryan. Valentine's Day is out, but before you tuck away those heart-shaped pans in the back of your pantry, we're going to use them one last time. We're going to build an Irish car bomb cake just in time for St. Paddy's Day. We're going to make a Guinness chocolate cake, soak that with a Jameson soaking liquid, top that with a Bailey's mousse. With a little luck of the Irish, we're going to cover that all in a green mirror glaze. This is going to look amazing. So stick with me. Let's get baking. This Guinness chocolate cake is so easy to make. We'll start by sifting our dry ingredients straight into the mixing bowl. Cake flour, baking soda, starch, baking powder, and cocoa powder. Sift a little and make room for the sugar. Then you gotta add your sugar and then sift the rest of it. Then with the whisk attachment, you'll add your eggs one at a time. Then vegetable oil and the Guinness. Mix that until well combined. Scoop that into your heart-shaped molds, bake in the oven, and that's it. A nice simple recipe for a delicious fluffy cake. However, the only challenge I had was on molding the cake, because it was so delicate. So instead, I suggest you bake this on a sheet pan and cut this out with a heart-shaped cookie cutter. But hey, you live, you learn, you bake better. So now that we have our heart-shaped cakes, we need to custom cut our cake boards. Lay out the hearts on the cake board. It'll take 3.5 pieces for our clover design, 1 for the center, 2 for the sides, and 1/2 for the stem. Trace around the cake and cut out the design. Now that our cake and our cake board are ready, it's time for some Bailey's mousse. We're going for a smooth, creamy mousse with a nice Bailey's flavor. First, we're going to bloom some gelatin, and then make a creme anglaise, which will give a nice body to the mousse and some structure for the Bailey's and the whipped cream to hold on to. When the gelatin is bloomed and the creme anglaise is ready, dissolve the gelatin in the warm anglaise. Then we want this to cool, but not set, because we want a manageable temperature so that we can fold the whipped cream in. If our anglaise is too hot, it'll deflate the whipped cream, but if it's too cold, it'll set the gelatin, and then we'll have chunks. And nobody wants chunky mousse. Next, we'll fold in the Baileys. Give it a taste. Maybe a touch more Baileys. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Once our mousse is mixed, we're going to pipe that into our heart-shaped molds, and then press in our delicious Guinness cake that we already soaked with Jameson simple syrup. Let that set in the freezer overnight, or if you're in a rush, a few hours will work as long as the mousse is set enough to unmold. And save the rest of the mousse to fill in the gaps later when assembling. Now our mousse is fully set, we can pop it out. We're going to place the heart-shaped molds on the board in the same design that we made earlier, and then we're going to cover the gaps with the mousse we saved. We want a nice even finish for the mirror glaze. So get that as smooth as you can, and we'll set it back in the freezer while we make the mirror glaze. Again, we're going to start by blooming our gelatin and set that off to the side. And in a pot, we're going to add our water, sugar, condensed milk, and heat that up till it's hot enough to melt the gelatin. Once that's hot enough, mix in your gelatin and then pour that over your white chocolate. Give that a second and then mix that till it's smooth. At this point, your mirror glaze will look a bit transparent, so adding some white food coloring will give us a nice base to start with. Then we're going to add some green food coloring, just until it looks good. And now we're going to let that sit until about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. But with this temperature, we want to make sure that cake is really frozen. With everything the right temperature, it's time to coat that cake with that glorious green glaze. First, we got to prop that cake up on something to let that excess glaze drip off, and pour our glaze directly on top, making sure to cover every square inch. When the glaze stops dripping, clean off the bottom real quick, place it onto a plate or a cake board, and then we're going to add some gold and white highlights just to make it pop. There you have it. Now that looks gorgeous. I can't wait to dig in. That's delicious. It's the perfect combination of fluffy cake and a creamy mousse. Plus, nothing green could be wrong, right? Hey, thanks again for joining me on this St. Patrick's Day. If you guys decide to make your own clover cake, let me know in the comments below how it turned out, or send me a picture. It'd be great to see. But until then, like, subscribe, and just keep baking.